It was a cold, chaotic morning on January 24th, 2026, in the city of Minneapolis. The air was filled with the loud sounds of shouting voices and the piercing wails of sirens from many emergency vehicles. Amidst this rising confusion and noise, a distinct and frightening sound cut through everything else. 10 gunshots, fired rapidly over just 5 seconds. On a cold Minneapolis sidewalk, a man lay dying. This man was Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old nurse who worked tirelessly in the intensive care unit, helping many people every day. A federal agent had shot him, ending his life right there in the street. This shocking and violent event took place during Operation Metro Surge, a massive action ordered by the United States government. Officials had described this operation as the largest immigration enforcement operation in the entire history of the U.S. It involved thousands of federal agents being sent to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, creating widespread tension, fear, and disruption throughout the community. The operation aimed to enforce immigration laws on a scale never seen before, leading to a climate of uncertainty. The sudden killing of Alex Preddy immediately created a deep and troubling conflict. He was a highly respected and beloved healthcare worker, widely known for his dedication to saving lives. Many in his community, especially the veterans he cared for with such compassion at the VA hospital, saw him as a true hero. So, the central and urgent question for our story is this: why was a man who spent his life helping others targeted and killed by the very government he worked for? This is a profound mystery. Why did federal agents take the life of a man dedicated to saving others? To truly understand how this tragic event could have happened, we must first learn more about Alex. We need to know the person behind the alarming news, the man his colleagues and patients consistently called a hero. A good man. Alex Preddy was more than a name in the news. He was a caring person. He was born in Illinois and later moved to Wisconsin, where he went to Preble High School. After finishing school in 2006, he started his career as a research scientist. However, Alex felt a strong desire to help others directly, especially those who were vulnerable. This feeling led him to change his path. He decided to study nursing at the University of Minnesota, graduating in 2011. His new career took him to the Minneapolis VA healthcare system, where he worked as an ICU nurse. Here, Alex dedicated his time to helping veterans, giving them the best care possible. Dr. Asma Shaukat, who hired Alex as a research assistant in 2014, spoke highly of him. She said Alex always wanted to work closely with patients and believed that veterans needed special support. Dr. Shaukat described him as a great team player who always stepped up and looked for ways to help his colleagues and patients. He was also part of the American Federation of Government Employees, a union that helps federal workers. Alex's compassion touched many lives. Mac Randolph, a man from Minneapolis, shared a story about Alex caring for his father, Terry Randolph, an Air Force veteran. Alex was with Mr. Randolph's father during his final moments, making sure he was comfortable. Mac Randolph remembered Alex as the sweetest person imaginable, someone who brought comfort in a difficult time. Families of patients often saw his kindness and professional manner. His own parents shared that Alex always hoped to make a real difference in the world through his work. It is important to know that Alex Preddy was a law-abiding citizen. He owned a gun legally and had a Minnesota permit to carry it. Official records showed he had no serious criminal history, only a few traffic tickets. There was nothing in his past to suggest he was anything but a good, kind, and professional man. Yet this loving portrait of Alex Preddy stood in sharp contrast to what federal authorities would soon claim. To his friends, family, and patients, he was a dedicated caregiver. But very soon, the government would label him a domestic terrorist. What was their official story, and why was it so different? 3. Two stories. On January 24, 2026, many people recorded the events with their phones. These bystander videos showed a clear picture of what happened to Alex Preddy. The videos showed Alex recording federal agents with his phone. He was also trying to help direct traffic around the scene, keeping cars and people safe. Suddenly, Alex saw federal agents pushing people on the sidewalk. He quickly moved to help. He went to assist a woman who had been pushed to the ground by an agent. Alex put his arm around the woman to help her. At that moment, agents sprayed Alex with pepper spray. They then wrestled him to the ground forcefully. Several agents held him down, pinning him to the concrete. One officer was even seen hitting him with an object. Then, 10 shots were fired in only 5 seconds. The videos clearly showed agents yelling "gun" after the shots. But this shout came about 8 seconds after Alex was already pinned firmly to the ground by multiple agents. The visual evidence from the videos made many people question the federal government's official explanation. However, the federal government gave a very different account of that morning. The Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, quickly released an official statement. They claimed Alex Preddy came very close to the officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. DHS stated that when officers tried to take his gun, Alex fought back violently and resisted their orders. DHS said their agent fired shots because he feared for his own life and the lives of his fellow officers. They believed Alex wanted to cause maximum damage. They directly stated he planned to massacre law enforcement that day. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem even called Alex's actions domestic terrorism. She claimed he arrived at the scene with the clear goal to inflict great harm. The bystander videos seemed to tell one clear story, showing Alex trying to help others. But the federal government insisted on another, very different version of events. This contradiction was deeply disturbing to the public. It was also not the first time such a conflict between video evidence and official claims had happened in Minneapolis. Just 17 days before Alex's death, another American citizen in the city had died in a strikingly similar way during federal enforcement actions. 4. The first death. To truly understand the explosive atmosphere building in Minneapolis, we must look back just 17 days before Alex Preddy's death. Another life was tragically cut short. Her name was Renee Good. She was 37 years old, just like Alex, and a loving mother to 3 children, a 15-year-old girl, a 12-year-old boy, and a 6-year-old boy. Her mother, Donna Ganger, remembered Renee as one of the kindest and most compassionate people she had ever known. On January 7, 2026, Renee was in her car in Minneapolis. She was stopped during an encounter with agents from United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE. This was part of Operation Metro Surge, a large federal enforcement action. Agent Jonathan Ross was one of the federal officers present.
Agents approached her car and ordered her to exit. One agent reached through her open window. Renee's car then moved slightly backward and then forward, turning away from the agent. Agent Ross, standing near the front of her vehicle, fired 3 shots. Renee Good died at the scene. Her death deeply troubled the community. It revealed a disturbing pattern. American citizens were being killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. This was not an isolated event. It showed that Alex Pretty's later death was part of a growing crisis. These were not unrelated incidents, but linked events that worried many. The local police chief, Brian O'Hara, noted that 2 of the 3 homicides in the city that year were by federal immigration agents. The people of Minneapolis had now seen 2 of their citizens killed by federal agents in less than 3 weeks. First Renee Good, and then Alex Pretty. The community reached a critical breaking point. The feel of fear turned into anger. The city was about to explode with protest and resistance. People were no longer willing to accept these actions. 5. The city fights back. After 2 people died in less than 3 weeks, the citizens of Minneapolis were very angry.
They decided it was time to fight back. On January 23, 2026, thousands of people went to downtown Minneapolis. It was extremely cold, with temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Still, many people marched to protest the large number of federal agents in their city. They walked through the streets, showing their strong disapproval of Operation Metro Surge. On the same day, more than 700 businesses across Minnesota closed their doors. These included restaurants, shops, and cultural places. This was a general strike, a way to show their anger without violence. Hundreds of religious leaders also protested at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, asking for the federal operation to end. About 100 clergy members were arrested there. The next day, after Alex Pretty's death, more protests and a vigil happened at Whittier Park. Local and state leaders in Minnesota also spoke out clearly. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey watched videos of Alex Pretty's death. He stated he saw many masked agents attacking a citizen before the shooting. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz reviewed the videos too. He said the federal government's story was nonsense. Governor Walz talked with the White House. He told President Donald Trump that the operation must stop. He also said that Minnesota was collecting facts to prosecute federal agents for their actions. To help local police, Governor Walz activated the Minnesota National Guard. The state of Minnesota took strong legal action. Attorney General Keith Ellison, along with the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, filed a lawsuit in federal court. They said Operation Metro Surge was against the United States Constitution. They argued that it violated state powers. Mr. Ellison stated that federal agents had caused chaos and fear across Minnesota. The lawsuit asked the court to stop the operation immediately and declare it unlawful. A hearing for this lawsuit was set for January 26th. The people and leaders of Minnesota showed a united front against the federal government's actions. But the White House and its supporters were not quiet. They were preparing to make the conflict bigger. What started as a local problem was quickly becoming a national political war. 6. A country divided. The difficult situation in Minneapolis quickly grew into a national debate. It showed how divided the country had become. People across the United States heard about Alex Pretty's death and Renee Good's death.
Leaders and citizens took strong positions, adding to the growing national anger. President Donald Trump used social media to blame Democrat-ensued chaos for the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. He wrote that Democrats were putting illegal alien criminals before tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. President Trump claimed these actions made things dangerous for everyone.
Former President Bill Clinton spoke out, calling the scenes in Minneapolis unacceptable and horrible. Clinton said the people in charge had lied to us and used aggressive tactics. Other national figures also reacted. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth strongly supported the federal agents, calling them patriots and criticizing Minnesota's leadership. Senator Bill Cassidy asked for a joint federal and state investigation, noting the credibility of federal agencies was at risk. Senator Jackie Rosen called federal agent actions un-American and said, "Enough is enough." An information war also took place. The White House posted AI-manipulated images of protesters on social media to control the story. A White House official said law enforcement would continue and the memes will continue. Local artist Nerdy was violently detained by federal agents during a protest. He later said his cell phone was stolen while he was held. These national reactions showed a clear reason behind the federal government's strong story from Chapter 3. The government's words about Alex Preddy were part of a larger political strategy. It was a way to turn the deaths into a national political battle, moving focus from local events to a broader ideological fight. While politicians and experts argued in the media, something else was happening on the ground in Minneapolis. The actual investigation into Alex Preddy's death was being actively stopped. 7. The blocked investigation. After the shooting of Alex Preddy, the city of Minneapolis faced a new problem. Federal agents blocked the investigation. State and local police arrived at the scene to find federal officers from the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, standing in their way. Even when state investigators from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension showed a judge's signed search warrant, DHS agents did not let them in. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said his officers were stopped. They could not get basic information about the shooting, which is normal for such events. This made it hard to know if there were other victims or threats. The conflict went to court quickly. A judge, Eric Tostred, issued an order. This order told DHS to stop changing or destroying any evidence related to Alex Preddy's death. The blocking of the investigation showed a deep disagreement between state and federal powers. Beyond the crime scene, Operation Metro Surge caused many problems across Minneapolis. The city's normal life stopped. Schools had to go into lockdown to keep students safe. Some schools canceled classes for the rest of the week, moving lessons online. Big events like a professional basketball game between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors were put off because of safety worries. Even hospitals and doctors were affected. Doctors held press conferences. They asked for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, agents to stay out of hospitals. They said patients were afraid to come for medical help. A resident doctor shared that the federal presence made working conditions very hard for healthcare staff. They stated that this situation was making the city less safe. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison said the federal actions felt like an invasion of the Twin Cities. This was not just about one person's death. It became a serious constitutional issue, stopping a major American city from working as it should. The crime scene was changed, the city was in trouble, and legal cases were just starting. A big question remained for everyone. How could justice be found for Alex Preddy? 8. The human cost. The events in Minneapolis left many questions unanswered. There was the big conflict between federal power and state power. Also, there was the issue of citizen rights against national security. Legal battles were still happening, and their results would change how federal law enforcement works in the future. But beyond the courts and political talk, there was a deep human sadness. Alex Preddy's parents spoke about their son. They said Alex wanted to help people and make the world better. It was sad that he would not be alive to see the good he could have done. A union for federal employees, AFGE Professional Local 3669, felt a great loss. They said their hearts were heavy, and this tragedy was devastating. Dr. Dmitry Draconia, a colleague of Alex, spoke about him.
He said it was very upsetting to hear how federal officials talked about Alex. Dr. Draconia remembered Alex as someone who made people feel comfortable very quickly with his jokes and his smile. Alex was a kind and caring man. The shooting left a lasting mark on Minneapolis and the whole state of Minnesota. People in the community felt afraid and uncertain about their future. What started as an operation about immigration became a much larger problem. It touched schools, hospitals, businesses, and churches. It raised big questions about justice, truth, and the rule of law for the whole country. 2 families were left to mourn their loved ones. A community had to deal with pain and fear. The nation now had to think about what these events meant for American democracy. What lessons do you think the nation can learn from these difficult events in Minneapolis?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.